On a rain-soaked night, the city's glittering towers wept as the streets turned into dark, shimmering rivers. Inside a sleek black limousine, Alexander Grant, a man who owned half the city, stared blankly into the storm. His phone buzzed relentlessly. Deals, mergers, crisis, but for the first time in his life, he didn't want to answer. He didn't want control. He just wanted silence. He had built an empire from dust. They called him a genius, ruthless, a force of nature. But none of them saw him in his sprawling, empty penthouse, where the silence wasn't peaceful, it was deafening. The warmth, the laughter, the very reason to strive at all, vanished 3 years ago when his fiancée walked away, unable to compete with his obsession for work. Since then, love was just a word in a dictionary he'd long since closed. Just as he was about to tell his driver to go, a soft, small knock tapped on his window. He looked up, startled. Standing in the downpour was a little girl, no older than 7, clutching an umbrella far too big for her small frame. Her hair was damp, her clothes simple, but her eyes shone with a light that defied the gloomy night. Alexander frowned, lowering the window just a crack. "Can I help you, little one?" he asked, his voice rough with disuse. The girl stepped closer, her little face serious. "Mister," she said, her voice a quiet bell against the rain. "You look lonely." He blinked, taken aback. "Lonely? No." She nodded with absolute certainty. "My mommy says people who stare at nothing are lonely inside." "You're staring at nothing." A tiny involuntary smile touched his lips. "You're very observant." "But what are you doing out here all alone? Where's your mother?" The little girl's bright expression faltered. She glanced towards the diner. She whispered, "She's trying to get a job. But they said they already hired someone." Her voice cracked, and she looked down at her worn sneakers. "I thought maybe if I helped her somehow, she wouldn't cry tonight." A strange, unfamiliar pang shot through Alexander's chest. Without thinking, he pushed the heavy door open and stepped out into the rain, crouching to meet her gaze. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said, a little shy now. "Lily," he said gently, "you shouldn't be talking to strangers in the rain." She bit her lip, gathering her courage, and then spoke the words that would shatter his world and rebuild it anew. "You need a wife, and I need a dad." Alexander froze, the rain dripping from his hair, the city noise fading to a hum. "My mommy's alone." "You're alone," she explained, as if it were the simplest logic in the world. "If you married her, she'd stop crying at night, and maybe I could have a dad again." Her small voice trembled. "It's just an idea." For a long moment, the CEO, the man who always had an answer, was speechless. Then, something in her innocent, desperate hope pierced through years of hardened cynicism. His carefully constructed defenses cracked open. "Where's your mom?" he asked softly. Lily pointed a small finger toward the diner window. A woman sat with her head in her hands, the picture of exhaustion and defeat. She was beautiful, but not in the polished, high-fashion way Alexander was accustomed to. Hers was a quiet beauty, etched with struggle, but held together by an undeniable strength. Her name, he would soon learn, was Emily. When Alexander walked into the diner with Lily by his side, Emily's head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. "Lily, can't just—" She stopped, her words catching in her throat as she took in the tall, imposing man in the soaked designer suit standing next to her daughter. "It's all right," Alexander said, offering a small, tired smile. She was worried about you." Emily's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, sir. She sometimes says things she shouldn't." "She told me I look lonely," he replied, a hint of a chuckle in his voice. Emily's gaze softened. In that brief moment, an unspoken understanding passed between them, a silent acknowledgement of loss, of two souls navigating their own private storms. That night, Alexander did something he hadn't done in years. He sat down in a humble diner with strangers and shared a simple meal. He listened as Lily chattered about her dream of becoming a rainbow doctor to make sad people happy again. He watched the lines of worry on Emily's face slowly relax as she smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that lit up her tired eyes. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, he found himself laughing, really laughing. Before leaving, he offered Emily his business card. "I'm looking for someone to help manage a new community project," he said, his tone casual, but his eyes sincere. "You have experience in administration, right? Her eyes widened in disbelief. How did you? I overheard you talking to the manager earlier, he admitted. Consider it a chance. Weeks turned into months. Emily flourished at Alexander's foundation, her passion and compassion breathing new life into projects, rebuilding schools in underserved neighborhoods. She was everything his corporate world was not: genuine, empathetic, and real. Lily became a frequent visitor to his high-tech office, her cheerful greetings and immediate hugs becoming the highlight of his day. The walls around his heart, once impenetrable, were crumbling, brick by brick. He found himself living for their laughter, their stories, the small, ordinary moments that made life extraordinary. But happiness is rarely a straight path. A storm broke, not of rain, but of scandal. Tabloid headlines screamed that Emily was a gold digger, a manipulator who had used her own daughter to trap the city's most eligible billionaire. Investors panicked. The board of directors grew restless. With tears in her eyes, Emily came to his office to resign. I never wanted this for you, she said, her voice trembling. I won't let my past ruin your future. Alexander stood silent for a beat, the world's noise fading away again. He walked to her, his gaze unwavering. Emily, he said, his voice firm and clear. You didn't use me. You saved me. He took her hand, his touch grounding her. I don't care what the world says. I care about what's real. In this, he looked from her to Lily, who was watching anxiously from the doorway. This is real. The corporate world was stunned when Alexander Grant announced he was stepping back from his CEO role to focus on his foundation and his family. The media went into a frenzy, but he didn't care. For the first time, he wasn't chasing success. He was embracing peace. A year later, under a canopy of blooming cherry blossoms, Lily, dressed in a tiny flower girl dress, tossed petals into the air, her laughter echoing in the spring air. Emily, in a simple but elegant white dress, walked towards the man waiting for her. Alexander's heart, once a hollow cavern, was full to bursting. As Emily reached him, Lily squeezed between them, looked up at him and whispered, just loud enough for him to hear, "Told you you needed a wife?" He laughed, his own eyes glistening with tears as he scooped her into his arms. "And you," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you finally got your dad." The three of them stood together, a new family forged in a rainstorm. As the wind carried the petals away, a beautiful reminder that the greatest treasures in life, the love that truly heals us, often come not from power or wealth, but from the simple, honest heart of someone who sees us for who we truly are. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more content that celebrates the power of human connection.